Hey everybody, so I'm getting ready to do some wood chipping on my timber trail to clean up branches and slash and stuff that's left over from felling a bunch of trees in recent weeks. And I just hooked up my wood chipper. This is a Wallenstein BX-42. I've had this 10 years, I believe. It's been really good. I originally bought this for use on a slightly smaller tractor, and I probably could have gone up a size when I got my new tractor in 2014, but this really does everything I need. It can chip anything up to about 4 inches. The feed chute has a 4x10 throat, so you can even throw scrap lumber in there. So this has worked out good for me for many years. I figured I'd make a video to show some of the usage of this chipper, how it works. And first thing I want to do is grab the camera, zoom in a little bit. We'll kind of do a walk around and talk about how this chipper works. Okay, so here we are up close getting a better look at this unit. This is the Wallenstein BX-42. And in general, when you see this style of chipper where you have a PTO driven flywheel with knives on it in this scroll type centrifugal looking, I'll call it a cage, it's not quite a cage. That kind of goes back to the original Wallenstein design, and this has been copied by quite a few companies. In fact, there's some clones out there that look almost identical to the Wallenstein. But you know, in general, when you see this type of design with a large flywheel and the knives and the scroll cage for the discharge chute, that's the Wallenstein design. It's worked really great for me. It's a good, robust unit. But really the heart of the unit is this big, heavy steel flywheel. It's got 4 knives mounted on it. And when this is rotating, these knives will basically trap material against a stationary knife down there and chip it. Anything that's too small to be chipped, basically anything that can make it through this slot in the flywheel, is going to get handled over here by what they call the twig breaker. And so that'll bust up any twigs, any vines, you know, really anything that's so small that it doesn't cut well with a chipper. It'll come through here and get broken up. And so while this is not a chipper shredder, I mean, that's an entirely different beast altogether. This chipper has really good ability to handle a range of sizes. In this case, anything basically from 0 up to 4 inches. The feed chute, which you can see over here, we'll look inside, it actually has a 4x10 inch throat, so it can handle wider material such as scrap lumber, cut-offs from the sawmill. It works really good for stuff like that. So it's not just a 4-inch chipper, it's basically anything you can efficiently fit down through that 4x10 throat at the bottom of this feed chute. Now this is what's known as a self-feeding chipper. It does not have hydraulic feed like you can get in some units. And I get asked quite a bit, very often, you know, how well does this thing feed? And you'll see for yourself later in the video when I start chipping things. When you start sliding material down this angled throat, it interacts with the knives and the stationary blade down there, and it ends up sucking material in because of the angle of the chute, gravity feed, and then this action of the knives and the blade down there. It sucks material in very quickly, sometimes almost too quickly. I've learned the hard way a few times. If I'm feeding in something very, very long, like maybe an entire sapling, to get it started and then quickly back away, because it's going to pull that in very quickly. And if you're standing next to that sapling, you're going to get swatted probably by the tree as it goes in. So in general, this self-feed works quite good. It's very fast. The one thing to me, the one deficiency compared to a hydraulic feed unit is that once this starts feeding, you can't stop it. It's going to suck that material in pretty quick. If it starts to bog down the tractor, or if it's going in faster than you want it to feed, there's not much you can do because it's off to the races. Whereas a unit with hydraulic feed, you could hit the bar, shut off the feed, and immediately have control over what's going and how quick it's going in. So when I say This self-feed works great. It's efficient. It's as good as hydraulic feed in terms of pushing and pulling material through. It's really the ability to throttle that back and turn off the feed that you lose when you have a self-feed unit like this. Otherwise, this works really good. I've never really had any problems with this. What I've noticed is if I'm chipping a lot of really green material, so that could be a lot of pine branches with pine needles and sap and pine cones, it can occasionally clog up the discharge chute, but I found the trick to avoid that is to periodically send through material that's very thick and woody, like a limb without a lot of needles. And it seems like the action of those chips flying up through the chute will help blow out the chute of any leaves or needles or anything that might be sticky, and it'll really avoid clogs before they happen. So, that's one thing to keep in mind if you're using this type of unit. Don't strictly feed one type of material through, try and mix it up. In fact, one of the other things you need to be careful about is if you're feeding dry wood, that tends to be harder to chip. It causes the knives to heat up. I've even seen smoke start coming out of the unit because of all the friction. So, if you can, alternate green material with dry material so that you can cool the knives off and keep everything flowing. And so to me, that's the overall trick with this type of unit. Don't try and overfeed it with any one type of material that goes to an extreme. Keep a mix of green wood, dry wood, leafy material, limbs. Just alternate so that you can keep the flow through the unit going smoothly, and keep the knives cool by getting some green material in there at least periodically. So I think at this point I'm ready to button this back up and we can head out to the timber trail and do some chipping. So let me put the camera back down and we'll get started on that. All right, that's going to wrap things up for today. Before we end, I just wanted to come over here and show you what the chips look like. They're fairly coarse chips, not really like a mulch. It's more like if you're familiar with a playground mulch, it's more like that. It's nice. You can use this for a variety of things. I've used it in landscaping. What I mainly do though is keep this stuff on hand. And if I have any muddy spots anywhere in my property, this is a great way to fill those in and make that area passable, and kind of just cover up the mud, and it does a really good job at that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. If anybody has any questions or comments, please post them below. And as always, thanks for watching.